Okay, let's welcome Mr. Pete Kimbell in. Pete, I'm gonna let you tell. I've tried to tell your story a million times, and I tell it, and then I say, well, I'm just gonna let Pete tell it.
There you go. There you go.
So, thank you for being here, and real excited to have you. And the floors, and we're missing the mayor's here.
Yeah.
He'll be here
And
somewhere.
Councilman McIntyre.
And Marcus McIntyre is, he works downtown, so if you can only imagine, it's pretty tough to
Probably
get here,
challenged a
so,
little bit, yeah.
But if you would, let's get started.
Fantastic. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us out tonight to share our story with you guys and let you hear what we're up to. My name is Pete Kimbell. My wife, Sherry, and I are the creators of Garden Oak Holiday Lights. So, what is Garden Oak Holiday Lights? That's basically a Christmas light display. At least that's the way we first thought it was going to be. And that what makes it a little different than any other traditional Christmas light display is that our lights are synchronized to Christmas music or popular music at the time. So people drive up in their car, tune in their radio station to a specific radio station, and they get to hear the music that we're transmitting from our home. And most of our seasonal shows are about 20 minutes in length, and we can host about 12 cars at a time. We are 100% free, that we don't ask anything from the public when they come up to see the display. The first year that we had it, we didn't know if anybody was going to come and visit our display. We did it for us to begin with, and that we found out that word of mouth is a very powerful tool, that people enjoyed it, and the message started being spread. So that first year, we decided that if any donations were to be donated to us, that it would all go to cancer research. There's a story behind that, but I won't go into it right now. 100% of our organization is volunteer-based. None of the money that we collect goes to us. It all goes to the cancer research. All of the lights, the equipment to put into it, the yellow safety vest that we have all of our volunteers wear, the candy canes that we hand out to every car, that's all out of my wife and I's pocket. That's our gift back to the community here. So 2010 is when we first started with the technology, trying to figure out what to do with it. It's a little different because we are able to control each individual light bulb on our display and make it one of 16 million colors up to 44 times per second. So you come to our house, you see the display, and the lights sweep across the display, swirl up and down, lots of colors, everything's into the beat of the music. It's different. Everybody enjoys it. So 2012 was our first year. We were honored with having the Neighborhood House of the Season Award. We had about 200 cars, raised a little less than $600, which if we just had $1 or just a thank you was all that, would have been great. And that we were rewarded with $600 to go to cancer research. 2013, almost 500 cars, over $1,200 raised. 2014, almost 1,000 cars, just under $3,000 raised. There's a trend here that keeps on going, keeps on growing. 2015, we were the Charlotte Observer's must-see house of the season. And if you don't know what that is the front page of their paper saying you gotta see this display. We had no idea. And that we were invited to be on the ABC's Great Christmas Light Fight that year. We turned them down. There's a reason behind that. It has to do with the popularity of your display after you're on their show. We already have a problem with popularity. We didn't need to make it worse. So 2015, almost 5,000 people, just under $4,000 raised. 2016, Charlotte Observer had a contest. Submit your favorite Christmas light displays that are free in the area. We had no idea that this was going on, and all of a sudden somebody drove up that night and said, hey, congratulations, you guys are number 2 behind McAdenville. Wow, no idea. So that year, just over $6,000 raised. 2017, we were the lead story for the National Foundation for Cancer Research annual report. National Foundation for Cancer Research is who we donate our donations to. almost $7,500 that year. This year, we formed as a nonprofit charity. We are officially a 501c3. Because of Mother Nature raining every weekend between Thanksgiving and Christmas this year, we had a little bit of a drop-off, almost $6,000 raised, but we had lots of spirit in every one of those cars that came out to see it. We have a picture of a bunch of girls sitting in a convertible with an umbrella up, singing at the top of their lungs to the Christmas songs. So nothing was going to stop the people. So safety is a concern, and I mentioned to you that popularity is a problem that we have. And so back our first year, we actually coordinated with Union County Sheriff. Captain Kimbell was my contact at the time, and he went over our plan of how to handle traffic. He approved us. We've actually had a police officer with Charlotte Mecklenburg come out and volunteer with us to help with traffic on some of our busier nights. Love the way we do things. We communicate to our neighbors early in the season before we start the show. Give them some safety tips. We have a way of communicating to each other so that their driveways stay open and we get them to their house immediately beyond everybody else. Traffic will back up and sometimes we'll have people waiting an hour, hour and a half to get up to the house. And that we have to coordinate that with the neighbors to make sure they stay happy. This past season we had up to 11 volunteers helping on nights, all of which are doing it out of the generosity of their heart, that they love what we're doing. We have an emergency plan that we did activate in 2016, that there was a brush fire at the end of our street. Baker's Fire Department needed to come through, and they weren't sure if they were going to. They knew our display, they know the traffic that we generated. Everything was halted, no traffic was moving except for them. They got through, they got back out, and afterwards the engineer of the fire department came by and congratulated us that they couldn't expect a better situation, that they were appreciative of it. So our plan worked. We have a new concept that we have a problem with traffic. It's just a matter of time before the neighbors come after me with pitchforks and torches. And we want to move the display out of our neighborhood, Brandon Oaks. It's been great. It's worked well. It got things going, which we never expected it to happen, but we have momentum now, and we want to take that momentum and keep on going. It's a good thing that we're doing. So we want to build a Christmas town square. Basically an elaborate Hollywood set, 13 storefronts with display windows. These display windows will have Christmas themes inside, much like a old-time department store display window used to be. Santa's Workshop is the centerpiece. Santa's Workshop is the tallest feature of the whole thing. It's about 50 foot tall, about 100 foot wide. The total area inside of this structure is about 178 feet by 100 feet. So the idea is that people would come in, mingle around looking in the display windows, and on the hour, half hour, we would start our 20-minute seasonal presentation. And they can stay as long as they want. We want to continue making it a free display for everybody that comes in. We do not want to charge an admittance fee to the whole thing. All of the structures are off limits to public. That's a question that I get. Well, how are we going to control people going in and out? Nope. It's off limits. They're just walking around looking in the display windows. 2 entrances, 1 exit, and that this is a concept that is brought over from one of our other volunteers. He works for a larger construction company, working on the airport expansion right now. That you'll notice that there's Connex boxes or sea containers, that this is the same concept we will use for people coming in and out of our structure. That's a safety feature, that if something did catch on fire, have an issue, those metal containers will allow people to get in and out without any problems. And then there'll be 1 larger gated entrance or exit for emergency purposes, but also to get large vehicles in and out, fire trucks or dump trucks or people lifts, whatever we need to get in there. The location, we've been gracious enough. Last year, we raised our hand and said, hey, do we have any volunteers out there for people that can help us with land? You know, if we don't have some place to move this to, we might as well not even get started. And to our surprise, Wise Acres Organic Farm, located technically outside of Indian Trail, but still has an Indian Trail mailing address, 38 acres of land. They graciously said, yeah, we like what you guys are doing. Love your concept. You are thinking like we are. Let's join up and do this together. So they're just off of Poplar Road across from Montera. David's familiar with that subdivision, I believe. Little corner of their property here, we've superimposed on the screen now a scale model of what it would look like. We're going to squeeze it right into the middle of the woods there. We have some distances between the neighbors. This was a slide that we used for Union County Planning Department to show them how close we were to the other neighbors around. And that in the end, Union County Planning has approved us, zoning-wise, to move forward, that we have their recommendation to continue. People are always concerned about, well, you have a problem with people coming now. Our limit is 12 cars to be able to see the display at one time, even though we'll have many more lined up waiting. So with this new venue, Wise Acres has about 200 parking spaces on property, and they have an agreement with Poplar Elementary just behind them with another 350 spaces. So altogether, our new concept will be park and walk inside to see the new display. I think this is going to hold us for a while. I don't think we're going to have any problems. And because our show is not a 4-hour show or 3-hour show, it's 20 minutes with a 10-minute intermission where people can walk around, we think people will turn over pretty decently. So a few may hang around and stay for a second show, but it should be something that moves well. Trails for entering and exit of the display itself. Enter on one side, exit on the other. Seems pretty straightforward. They'll have a nice path to walk through the woods at night. So we will have actually multiple sessions throughout the year. We'll operate about 132 hours throughout the entire calendar year. Only 132 hours. Christmas is our longest season, which is going to go between Thanksgiving and the weekend after Christmas. That is free admission to the public, our tradition. But we have to cover operational costs, insurance, electricity. We've got to make the lights flash somehow. Insurance, lease for the land, all those things to make things function. So the summer, around July 4th, we'll do a patriotic display where families can come out, bring their picnic blankets and some snacks, and they can watch the lights underneath the stars. Halloween, we'll do something similar, maybe the weekend before, weekend after, or depending on when it falls, maybe both. And those will be paid events that the public can come out and enjoy the lights with. We'll also do a behind-the-scenes tour, that the lighting hobby is a growing one, and that many people are fascinated to know how things work. If they want to know how the magic trick works and know all the secrets, we will be glad to let that information out. We currently help about 12 other individuals get into this hobby, and there's no reason to hide it. And matter of fact, it could be somebody that I could, in the future, ask for advice on how to do something. You never know how those things can switch around, and you can become the student and they become the teacher. Projected numbers. So we used 2017's numbers to begin with, and then statistically we rolled those forward. 2020, we're looking at just under 5,000 cars, just over 15,000 people. We're estimating about 379 people per hour, and the per hour thing is an important part, that we don't want this thing crowded with people. We want it to move along and that people come in and out so that there's plenty of room, people aren't overwhelmed with the whole experience inside, and that we don't want everybody collecting up against the display windows constantly. We get out to 2022, we're looking at just over 700 people an hour, almost 10,000 cars. These are just projected numbers, but they follow a consistent formula, I'm told. So we're hoping that these numbers hold true. If not, maybe even a little stronger, that maybe it becomes more popular than we think. Halloween, summer events, we're looking at around 400 people a night when we do have those events themselves. So the interior space, people said, well, if you're looking at that many people per hour, how many people can you hold? So the only relationship that we can go with is a party venue, that if you have a stand-up cocktail hour for the estimated 17,800 square foot that we have inside, what is allowed for that type of situation? And it comes to about 2,500 people could be allowed in there. We don't want 2,500 people in there. We like the idea of keeping it 800 people or less per hour. That's our favorite. We can get to know people that way maybe a little bit. We still want to keep things volunteer-based, no compensation from anybody. So that means that we're going to need volunteers to help with traffic, direct people, and to perform emergency patrols around the venue to make sure everything is intact, that nobody's vandalizing everything, and that people are finding their ways back to their cars without any problems. We want to get the display up and running by 2020. So people will say, well, you got the rest of 2019 and you got 2020 to go. Yeah, we're estimating that's going to take somewhere between 10 and 12 months to actually build the structure. We're not a company. We're not a corporation. We are trying to fund this through grassroots efforts, and that part of it will be done through commercial contractors to do some of the building, and then the rest will be volunteer work. And so coordinating those volunteers and getting them out on weekends or when they can, that's going to take up some time. Then we're going to need about 6 months to do the lights themselves. The lights are not something that are sold in the United States, that they actually come out of Asia. And we buy them in their raw form so that they're less expensive. Then we have to take those lights and put them into some type of frame or element that then looks like something for Christmas. So outlighting around the window has to be in some type of structure so that it can keep the lights in shape. And then we have to hide all those wires so everything looks nice and neat. That takes time. So 6 months is what we're planning on doing that. That will be a record if we get it done in that time, but with enough people, I'm sure we can. This is a benefit to Indian Trail, that if anybody asks where are you located, of course we're going to say Wise Acres over in Indian Trail. It's going to be something that we have no doubt that with the amount of interest that we've had in our current display, and we've really kept it a secret because we don't want to be overwhelmed with the traffic, we're going to now let people know who we are, where we are, and when we're having this event. We'll be proudly saying that we're an Indian Trail. It will again be a free activity. When around the Christmas time, there are not many free events that people can go to. And you'd be surprised how many people come out to our display because it is a free event. Parents that can't afford to do things with their children, they come out to our event because they know it's free and they know their kids will enjoy it. And we're a family-oriented event. We're not trying to commercialize this experience at all. Matter of fact, with sponsors that are in the display, we'll be glad to show their logo or company name at the beginning of the show, but we don't want it to commercialize and signs all over the place saying that, this is XYZ's company sponsor event or something. We want to keep it a family-oriented, traditional display. You guys could help us. You could really help us. We're in the middle of fundraising. We're a little behind. We got backed up a little bit with the Union County Planning Department. It took a little longer than we were expected, and it dropped us right into the Christmas season for 2018. And so we had to get the lights up and running and keep the show running for 2018. So we're really just now starting our fundraising. So we've lost basically 6 months of time. We're looking for sponsorships of either monetary or material donations from companies and organizations. It doesn't have to be an Indian Trail, it can be in the area. We have a way to make sure that they're recognized for their generosity. You guys, being the Indian Trail Town Council, that if you guys would like, you could share our link to our donation site so that maybe we can get some word out that way. I'm sure that people will respect your opinions of things. We're willing to work with other organizations to help raise the funds, to partner with them. If they would, be another way of us bringing in other volunteers into our event during December months when things are really challenged for people to get volunteers to come out to work with us. We're also going to need volunteers once the construction begins, so working with those other groups could also be another means of bringing in volunteers. We'd love to say that Indian Trail Town Council that supports us and that you guys love what we're doing in the area and you wanted to help us get the word out and that we can say that, we're backed by you guys. And then if the Indian Trail would like to contribute directly to yourselves, we'd even love that even more. But we know it's going to be a group effort to get this to work, that one person most likely is not going to come forward and donate all of the money to build this new venue. We're looking for somewhere in the neighborhood of $600,000 altogether. $450,000 to build the venue itself, and people scratch their heads and say, how can you build that for $450,000? But remember, it is a Hollywood set, basically. So there's not the same finish and electrical requirements, that type of things that you have to have for a full finished building, such as this beautiful one that we're in right now. It's just a Hollywood set that looks good from the outside. The Christmas lights, take up the remaining budget there, about $150,000. We're going to try to squeeze in. Well, I should say that we have about 65,000 lights now on a current display. New display about 1.6 million. So we're definitely going to try to get things up and running in a bright way. If you'd like to personally donate, donate.goholidaylights.com is our website to go to make your personal pledge. Jerry Likens and Mark Vartanian are two of our volunteers that helped me throughout the years to get this display up and running, and they have volunteered to also continue working forward with me. I couldn't do it without them or my wife. Like I said, it's a group effort to get this whole thing pulled off. So if there's any questions that you guys have, I'll be glad to answer them. Great. No.
I'll say something just real quick. I don't know how much time we've got. We don't have many.
You got 9 minutes.
I've got plenty of time then. I just happened to stumble across, I've been several years, and mainly because my wife loves to go so much, and I enjoy it, and it's not very far to travel, and we go over, and this year we waited a little over an hour, and maybe an hour and 15, 20 minutes to get up there. Did have my in-laws with me, so.
Long,
But anyway,
long way.
we made it, and it was very enjoyable. And one of the things that Pete didn't tell you, and he has a whole nother story, and he can't, I don't know if he has time to go into that story tonight about, I'll briefly touch on it
Please.
if I may, is that I believe it was your mother?
Correct.
That had cancer,
Mhm.
and she had a drug that, I guess, a test.
It was a drug pre-approved for another type of cancer, thyroid cancer, that the FDA was experimenting with other types of cancer, and pancreatic cancer, which is what she had. It was a drug trial was set up for that, and that the likelihood of a normal pancreatic cancer patient is about 18 months. So what does she have to lose? Maybe this will help somebody else in the future. Well, that was 6 years ago, and she's still with us today. The drug worked.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's kind of how this whole thing got started. I'm assuming to say that's how it got started.
It did. And I missed one important point, that the drug almost didn't make it to market to begin with the thyroid cancer, that once it's in the labs, it gets so far, but they have to do so many tests of so many kinds before there's enough evidence that the drug works, before a drug company will pick it up and take it the rest of the way through the Food and Drug Administration. And that there's this gap that a lot of drugs fall off into, and they never make it any further. And the National Foundation for Cancer Research partially funded them to get them over that gap. They don't look for money at the end. They don't look for funding the whole thing. They try to get other organizations together and say, hey, come on, guys, we can take this drug. We really think this is a winner. Let's all contribute together and get them over this hump here so that the drug companies can pick them up. And that's how that drug made it to market.
Last thing I want to say too, Pete, is that, it's all a volunteer. You've got Jerry and you got Mark and you've got 11 or 9 other people that help you.
And don't forget my wife.
And your
Yeah.
wife, I'm sorry, of course your wife, puts up with you too, right?
That's
Through
exactly
all this
true,
whole
yeah.
thing. But, what all the effort that you guys do, what I see, and it touched me because my wife also,
Yep.
is a cancer survivor, and many of you people in this room have, or may be, or may know. Everybody knows cancer survivors. We all do, and I'm very thankful for what it does. But I guess what I'd really like to say is this is very unique, and I can see that in 10 years from now or 7 years from now, that people line up to go to Cramerton. They're going to be lined up to go to this. This is nothing like it anywhere, and they're not doing it because they want to be. They're not doing it to get the attention. They're doing it for a great cause, and it's touching to me, and I appreciate what you guys do, and you know, I see it bringing something to Indian Trail that pretty soon they're going to load their families up and say, well, you want to go to Indian Trail tonight, or do you want to go to Cramerton tonight?
Yeah,
I really do. I think it's going to be that special.
And it's that feedback that we get that keeps us going year after year. That
And
everybody's very
you're
appreciative.
not asking for money.
No.
You are asking for money, but you're not coming to the town and
No.
saying, hey, we want the town to get. You're asking for help from us. Is basically what he's doing, is saying, hey, do we know people that can help me build this for the town? And I think it's going to be a great thing for the town.
Minimal, just help us get the word out.
Yeah,
That's-
just help, let's get the word out.
Yeah.
I'm done. Anybody else have anything to say?
Yeah, you'll go next. Hi, Pete.
Hi,
You said your startup fee is 600,000?
that's what we're looking for to get started with construction, correct? That's
Are you at
our
a point
budget.
where you could tell how much you've,
We've raised about $66,000 in cash and material so far.
okay, and how many acres was that again?
We've been offered up to 2 acres, but we're needing just a little over 1 acre.
Are they donating this to you?
Basically, they are. For legal reasons, we do have to set up a lease, but they're leasing it to us for $1 a year.
Oh, that's pretty
So,
good.
yeah, very generous people.
I'm just curious.
20-year lease, yeah.
Okay, what is your electric bill?
Most months in December, it actually goes down because my wife and I are outside working with traffic every night. We help park all the cars. We hand out flyers, hand out candy canes to everybody inside the car. That's how we can count the number of cars, the number of people that show up. So we're not inside watching the TV and have all the lights on. So the lights that we have on our house, all LED, all low voltage, consume less power than it would be if we were inside the house.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've seen the program on TV where you said they approached you.
Yes, yeah.
People got really excited about it. Okay.
It's a great show. It's just, it just wasn't something we were looking to get into if it was going to expose us to more traffic. We already have a traffic issue. People know who we are. It's an honor just to be recognized by them that they would like to have us on, but it just wasn't something that we were looking to really take on.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, hi, Pete.
Hi.
I was writing a couple of, just jotting down some thoughts as you were doing your presentation. One of the questions that I had, you went to the county to get approval from them. Is this property all in the county?
It is all in the county, correct.
Okay. The other thing, did the county, is this, since this is going to be open to the public, are they required anything like ADA and those kind of requirements?
These are, we're looking to move a little forward on the funding before we go and talk with the permitting department for the building permit. But yeah, this is something that we're having to talk with them about, and where I think realization of reality needs to come in, that we're operating 132 hours a year, not 7 days a week, and that the existing farm operates perfectly fine with the current parking situation, and that there has been, and I understand where the county is coming from. They have a cookie cutter plan for a convenience store or for a daycare or for anything. But we come to them with this and they're like, I don't know what to do. And everybody's falling back to the default plan, was to make sure that everything's in there that we need to cover ourselves. So everything's extreme on the code. And I can appreciate where they're going, but they're, at one point, they were commenting that we were going to need to spend $1.2 million to pave the existing parking lot. And that means that we had to put up curbs, and we're going to do a settling pond. And that doesn't make sense for just operating 132 hours for an existing parking area that works perfectly fine now. And I think that when we talk, we sit down and understand each other, I think that we're going to be able to work things out and get things under compliance. So we want to be open to handicapped persons. My parents are both in their mid-80s, and that it would be a challenge for them to get to this structure now. I want to make sure they can see it, and I'm sure others would like to see it too. So we will take the steps that we need to make it accessible, but we just want to put things in perspective. Maybe we only need to do the paving of the pads that are handicap required, not the entire parking lot. Yeah.
Pete, oh, sorry, it's 6:30, Jerry.
Okay. One other thought that I had was, as far as volunteers, I read in the Inquirer Journal that SPCC has a construction program where they built tiny house
Yes.
that they're going to be auctioning off. And you've probably already
Uh-huh.
thought about this, but perhaps you could work with SPCC in their construction and their electrical department when you get to that stage as well.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
We have Boy Scouts here in Indian Trail and in the surrounding area. And then, I don't know can we link, can the town link this to the town website? Is that an option? Is there any legality issues there to try to promote, donations or anything?
When you say link it to the town site?
Yeah, Pete was asking if we could promote it somehow, the town. Could we do it through the website, or do we?
Yeah, so what we're planning to do with Pete is he's gonna bring a model that you could see it lit up at night. We're gonna put it down in the hallway, and also we're gonna work with Mike. He's gonna provide us with some videos so we could put some of it on our website. And the last item is we're working on the marketing campaign. We could include that in it too. So there's 3 areas where we're gonna do that. So.
Patrick, as we had a little sneak preview before, we kind of talked a couple of weeks ago. He's been very gracious with helping us out. But I love your suggestion, especially with SBCC. Yeah.
I've got some other notes. I'm rushed on time. I support this. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you
for
very
Indian
much.
Trail. I think it'd be another, attraction that we sorely need here, and I wish you a lot of success.
Thank you very much.
Pete, if you wouldn't mind leaving your contact information for council members, I'm sure there's a lot of questions, and you did ask them if they had any ideas.
Absolutely, bring them on, 'cause that's how
In the
this
nature of
works.
time.
Yeah. If you only use your own mind, you only get so far. But if you open it up to let others help, you'll go a long way. So fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.